Today's going to be a little different. I'm going to talk about the absolute best piece of equipment that I have used for any of my aquariums all year, and it's in this tiny little box. Hello everyone, this is Bentley, and today we're going to talk about my favorite piece of equipment in 2024. The thing that I feel is probably the most intelligently designed, and although it's a little bit narrow in its use, out of all the pieces of equipment I have in my fish room, this is the one I like the most. And that might surprise you. So, this is it. Simple, right? Just a CO2 diffuser. So, for a lot of you, this thing doesn't even matter. But there is a lot of genius in how this particular one is designed. And I'm pretty sure there's probably multiple brands that all get this from China, but I want to talk about why I think this thing is so smartly built and what makes it amazing. So first off, there's stainless steel. And there's lots of glass, acrylic, and all sorts of things. You guys know that I've tried the Neo diffusers, which are an acrylic with their little stone on top. Frankly, I hate those things. I hate them. And this is a really similar design, so you would think inherently I would hate this too. But this thing solves every problem that I hate about those. And before I get into this note, this is not sponsor content. I have two of these running in tanks. This one is going in the bigger tank that my wife and I are working on here relatively soon. But there's just so many things that are smart. One of the things I hate the most about the Neo diffuser, but I like about some of the atomic diffusers that are out there, is on the Neo diffuser, it's just straight. There's no hook or anything. And that means that you're putting your air line or your CO2 line directly on it. I don't know how well you can see this, but this has this genius little bit here where you press it in and it opens up the teeth inside to just accept the tube. So all you're doing is pushing the tube up and it's friction holding in place. Now, I've messed with these several times in two different tanks. I have never had a problem with my CO2 tubing coming loose. This is just like what's used in a lot of the refrigerator tube lining that a lot of people use in some of their automatic water change systems, where this is a very specific type of fit, and when it presses in, it opens up, and then it closes in on it and clamps it down and holds it in place. It's just very, very smart design. I mean, there's even one on the other side of it, so you could take this entirely off if you wanted to, and then have your line directly attached, but I would ask you, why would you? The other big advantage to that is that if you ever did need to clean this thing, your airline tubing comes on and off very easily, so this is very easy to remove. You're not going to sit there and deal with the friction of it over the tube or some other anchor piece. It comes off easily. But maybe the most important part about every in-tank CO2 diffuser is this, the ceramic portion. And this is where I think this thing is, again, genius. And I don't know why more companies aren't doing it yet. So with an atomic diffuser, which used to be my favorite, it's a long circular bar, basically, that emits things. And over time, that gets clogged up with algae and other things, so you need to go and clean it. What that often means is a mixture of bleach and water. You let it soak overnight. And so what some people will do is they'll just buy an extra one, and they'll put that one in the tank while they clean the other one, and then you need to rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse and thoroughly rinse. The in-tank diffusers that are more like the Neo diffuser style are similar. Once they're dirty or clogging up and you need to clean them, you need to go soak them in a bleach and water mixture for a while to help get all that stuff out. This on the other hand, takes a little bit because it's small, but it screws out. Show you that up close. You'll see the mechanism. You can see it just screws in and out, and it has a little seal there to help keep it watertight. Now, that's fine and dandy. Okay, it's easier to clean just one, but what's more important is they sell packs of spares, and they're cheap. These things are not very expensive at all. So what you do is much like this. You'll buy a pack of 5. You'll have a bunch of spares. You'll quickly take this out. You'll screw this off. You'll put a new one on. You'll screw it in. And it just, it only takes a minute or so. But I suppose if I focus more on this instead of the camera, I get a align it correctly. There we go. Just screw it back in. Get it nice and hand tight with the seal. Put it back on your tank. Take the dirty one. Go soak it. You got a ton of time. Now you're not replacing the entire mechanism. You're only replacing these. And over time, these do get so clogged you can't really clean them. Well, this is a simple replacement as opposed to replacing the entire frickin' diffuser. It's so smart. Why is there more innovation in one of these than there is in any of our hang-on back filters lately? Or canister filters, for that matter. It seems like adding these couple of things that are simplistic have just added so much capability to them. And then very simply, like even with this hook, there's a couple different sizes, right? There's slightly wider ones, like I have on the back there, but even with this, you can see that while this one is designed not to fit on a 40 breeder very well, it's designed for rimless tanks. But there's wider ones, as you can obviously see right here, right? My diffuser over here is this same style, just not quite as long because the tank's not as tall, and it's wider up here because it needs to fit a wider rim. This is designed for a rimless tank. There are wider ones for rimmed tanks. I've found that they fit a 40 breeder really, really well. So if you're going a little bit bigger than that, that's where it might be a little questionable. Just do your measurements. It should be fine. But in general, these fit pretty well. If you're a rimless tank person, they're perfect, right? They're already really thin. They have a J-hook built into them. They just hang right on the tank. And they do have a little suction cup that hooks onto them. I just don't have it on this particular one if you need it. But that's it. It's so simple, and I think that's what frustrates me about a big part of the aquarium industry is that there is room to innovate on pretty much anything that's in our fish rooms, right? Whether it's a powered filter, an unpowered filter, whatever it may be, there is room to innovate. This is innovation. And I know these have been out for a little bit, but this is so much better than almost every other diffuser out there because of a couple of simple ease of use things. The fact that I can buy a pack of these rather than having multiple of this entire assembly. And this isn't even that expensive, to be fair, compared to some of the atomic diffusers that are out there. And I get really fine mist bubbles. I don't have to push a crazy amount of CO2. I can keep my CO2 low, which you guys know that's my preference. And they look nice in a tank. Like stainless steel equipment looks nice. Now, for those who prefer glass, I don't know if they have a glass version. I know they have stainless steel. I'll post if they do. There'll be something in the description. But or there will be a comment right here being like, of course there is, dummy. But it's just, why is this the one thing that out of everything I've used, whether it's lights, filters, whatever it may be, this is the thing that I think is the best engineered? And it's so simple. And maybe that's part of it. There's simple improvements taken from multiple other portions of industry. This clip here for the tubing, clearly taken from parts of the refrigeration industry for running water lines or professional water devices like water filtration units or like, you know, the big water thing you have at work if you don't have one of the old school like big drum on top things, right? They're using the kind of lines that use these friction holding things. Well, this is such an industry standard. They're so well known. They work perfectly. And then making it so that this just screws in and out. It has a simple seal. Makes maintenance so much easier. This is the best piece of equipment in my fish room. It's only on a couple tanks because I only have a few tanks that run CO2. And yet, from an engineering perspective, from a like making my life easier perspective, this is the best one in the fish room. And you've seen a little bit of B-roll of one of the ones that needs maintenance, right? I purposely let it get a little extra algified to make sure I had some footage for this. But honestly, when I'm taking care of them, like the one that's over here has barely anything on it. And it's 5 minutes of work to take one off, put another one on, and then go throw the ones that need to be cleaned into a soak. And the tank keeps running instead of having to wait potentially multiple days to make sure that the other one is safe. In that meantime, I can clean this, rinse it, soak it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, make sure I don't have any worries about bleach when I put the other one back on. And because I can buy a 5-pack of them, honestly, I can have so many I can rotate through that fear becomes even less. Simple, good design. I love these things, and I might honestly get more for more tanks than I would normally do so, if only because I've had so much success with this one. I might have more tanks with CO2 in the future. Now, I'll keep them low and slow, right? But this has made my CO2 experience significantly better on the new tank that brother-in-law James has done, and on Fallen Forest here. There used to be CO2 in this tank, but it's not really needing it, although we could do some interesting stuff and maybe make some changes and add CO2. And one of these would be perfect. That's it. I just wanted to highlight something that, like, I guess it's really surprised me, and I know I'm like, but it's just, this thing, it's so simple, and yet from taking simplistic innovation, it has made it infinitely better than almost any of the other small in-tank diffusers I've used across multiple aquariums. I've tried multiple sizes of atomic diffusers. I've tried a couple different versions of the Neo diffuser over time. I tried those old, like, if you remember those, like, plastic with the ceramic in them that Fluval makes. Those things, they're terrible, but they're designed for, like, paintball-sized CO2 units. I've tried those, and they all suck. This has been amazing. I've been running a couple of these for, like, 6-ish months or so, and just, they're great. They're rock solid. I mean, the CO2 is just on a timer, right? Like you would do any other CO2 unit, but other than that, they are amazing on my aquariums, and I like them a lot. And I really wish that other portions of our industry would look at innovating in the way that this very simple piece of equipment has. Look at things that work in other industries and figure out how to apply them to aquariums, because there's plenty of other industries that deal with water constantly that could make some level of innovation in whether it's a filter, a heater, what have you. There has to be a way. There are people far smarter than me that figure this kind of stuff out. So, I don't know, I guess my challenge to everybody else is figure it out. Come on, Fluval, one of you guys, Oase, whoever, figure it out. For the rest of you, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a little thumbs up. Maybe you're thinking about doing CO2, and you might want to try one of these. I love them a lot, so there's that. I love them enough to, like, basically preach about them, even though it's not like I'm going to get any kickback for it. But just, they've made CO2 so much easier in a couple of my tanks, so I gotta give them a little love. If you've used a diffuser like this, or maybe you've used a different diffuser, whether you have a horror story or a this is the most amazing thing ever story, I want to hear from you down in the comments down below. Let me know. I love hearing from you guys. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome.